Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Live Streams with Famous Friends. My name is Jason McNamara, and sitting over here to my right-hand side on your screen is my wonderful host all the way from New Zealand, Mr. David Burch. How are you, mate?
I'm extremely well. How about yourself?
I'm somewhat excited. I'm getting my Aussie spirit on. I'm wearing an appropriate T-shirt.
I can see this. Yeah, it's very Australia Day. That's been and gone, mate. You're a little bit late.
January 26th, my friend. It's a special day, and I believe it also happens to be Eddie Van Halen's birthday. But we do have one of the few guitar players in the world who I'll go out on a limb to say could trump Eddie Van Halen. Different styles, but like, man, you don't earn the title CGP for nothing. So for those of you out there watching who don't actually know, CGP stands for Certified Guitar Player, and we'll get into that shortly. As far as I know, only 6 people over the course of time have ever been bestowed with that title, which is pretty amazing. The gentleman that's coming on our show today, wow. I mean, look, what can I say? You know what? I will actually get back to him about that because I've got to really think of the right words. Just quickly, coming up this week, we have the most amazing set of shows here on Live Streams with Famous Friends. So tomorrow, Dave, I'm going to let you introduce this one because I know how excited you are. Who have we got coming up tomorrow? And just explain quickly, you know how I do this, who he is, what he is, and then say his name.
Well, who is he? When Jason told me about this guy possibly coming on the show, I gave him a 15 out of 10 from my excitement level.
I asked him, how excited are you? Out of 1 to 10, he goes 15.
This guy, if you don't know who he is as a musician, I think you may have been living under a rock for a wee while. This guy's a monster. He's played for and with everyone, or at
most famous for his time with John Cougar Mellencamp or John Mellencamp.
John Cougar Mellencamp or John Mellencamp, but he's an absolute monster. This guy, a drummer, a legend, an absolute magical human being. Kenny Aronoff will be with us tomorrow.
Indeed, he will. Then 2 days after that, so 3 days from now, we have a show which, having spoken about Van Halen, these guys opened up. If you saw Van Halen on the 1991 tour, the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, where they did Pound Cake and all that stuff, the band in America who opened up for them, the Baby Animals, we have Susie DiMarchi, the singer, and Dave Leslie, the guitar player from Baby Animals, coming on the show, and that's going to be incredible. Then coming up on, if you're in America, Saturday night, or if you're in Australia, Japan, where I am, or New Zealand, where Dave is, on Sunday, so Saturday night or Sunday, depending on your time zone, Phil X from Bon Jovi is coming on the show. So Phil X took over from Richie Sambora, and if you're one of those people who loves Bon Jovi and goes, oh, only Richie, I dare you to not love Phil X. The guy's amazing. The next day, we have Bumblefoot and Billy Sheehan from the band Sons of Apollo, and the day after that, we have another episode which I'm really excited about, which is Rob Lamoth and Nick Brophy from the band River Dogs, which, if you don't know the River Dogs, Vivian Campbell from Whitesnake and Dio and many other bands was also the guitar player in that band, along with Mark Denzeisen, the drummer. Anyway, enough prattling on from us. We know you're here for Tommy. We are here for Tommy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, please put your hands together for Mr. Tommy Emmanuel.
Hey, greetings. Oh, the crowd went mild. The audience leapt to its computer.
Exactly, it did. Welcome, Tommy.
Well, hello, world out there, and hope everyone is hunkered down and enjoying life in a very different way.
Yeah, things have definitely changed somewhat, haven't they?
It's just nature's way of showing us how powerless we are.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah, and people, when this went down and all my shows got postponed and I had to be isolated, so many people were concerned because they know how much I work and how much I travel and all that sort of stuff. But I can honestly say I haven't been enjoying this so much because I'm in the same place all the time. I can't go anywhere.
When was the last time you had that sort of like thing of being stuck in one place for so long?
When I was going to school. That's how long it's been. 1969 was my last year at school.
Wow.
Mm.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I've been a roving, a grooving, and a rambling. And, I've been a rambler, a gambler, a sweet-talking something. Anyway, I was trying to get poetic there. But I've been enjoying this because my 5-year-old, Rachel, and I have never had this opportunity because she was born 5 years ago, one of the busiest periods of my life, the last 5 years. And so, and it was starting to really kind of get to me that I'm not going to see her for a month, things like that. And the same for my daughters, Amanda and Angelina, they're in England. And so hello, jolly old England. But, this has been a blessing to me to not have to, as much as I love working and playing for the people out there and doing my job and trying to improve by working, I've had to just, let it all go and see my powerlessness over it and embrace it. That's what I've had to do.
Makes perfect sense.
That's the most positive way I've heard it being said in a long time too.
Well, thank you.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
It's what I love about you, Tommy. You're inspirational all the way around, whether it's on the guitar or whether it's as a conversationalist. I love how...
It's the truth. The truth is, I feel my heart goes out to so many people who've lost loved ones, especially, all the grandparents who couldn't make it. It's a terrible situation. And there are people there, I was looking at the news a couple of days ago, and there was a family not far from here who the mother is only 30 years old, the baby's like 3 years old. She didn't make it, and that's a terrible, terrible thing, and looking at the numbers and how it's spreading and all that sort of stuff. And I just feel so full of gratitude that I'm okay. My health is good. My family's okay. I can literally get out of my apartment here and walk and go and see Rachel.
Nice.
We're not cohabitating. I'm in a different place.
Yep.
And
you were saying you're in your apartment. So how far is it from where you are to there?
Literally 8 minutes walking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I'm in California, and this state has had a lot of deaths. It's had a lot of issues, and but I haven't had to go to a hospital. I'm grateful that I haven't, but I've been super cautious. I've got gloves and masks, and I'm always washing my hands. I'm always disinfecting stuff. And we practice the social distancing, and everybody's pulling together. It's been a great experience. But for me, this has been a whole different ball game. And the fact that Rachel and I see each other almost every day is the greatest blessing in my life. It really is.
It's interesting how, it's horrible for people who are losing loved ones, but
exactly.
the fact that I only started this show because I just wanted to give people a little bit of positivity amongst all of this, and we've had such generosity from people such as yourself and all the guests we've already had on the show, and the people yet to come that I mentioned before. We wouldn't be able to do this at another time, and I don't want to see that as yay, it happened because we can do this, but I just. I love the spirit of so many people trying to come together to inspire each other and show love for one another, and it's just beautiful.
Who wants to go back to the way it was? I don't want to go back to not having enough time to see my family. I don't want to go back to forgetting to call people back or stuff like that because I'm so busy. Honestly, I don't want to go back to that. I want to have time to be a better friend and be a better brother, be a better dad, all those things, and it just means so much to us.
Well, you are a good mate, and don't even question that for a second. I'm gonna tell the people out there a funny story about probably let me think, it was 3 or 4, actually about 4 years ago. Because for those of you who don't know, I live in Tokyo in Japan, and I'm from Adelaide. Tommy and I are from the same country.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. I can speak Japanese a lot more than what you can, fellas. So
of course you can.
Marco Miniman made that mistake with me.
Would hope you can.
So 3 or 4 years ago, I was at Tokyo Disneyland with my family. I have a couple of young kids, very similar to Tommy's daughter's age. And Tommy actually called me while I was at Disneyland. He's like, mate, I'm in town. I'm in Tokyo at the moment. I'm like, yeah, I know. I saw your tour schedule. He goes, do you want to catch up today? I got a bit of free time, and I don't normally get free time when I'm in town. I want to catch up. I want to hang out. I was like, sorry, mate. I'm at Disneyland with the family. I'm about an hour out of Shibuya right now. I can't come and catch up. So I actually had to turn Tommy down from a request to catch up.
But I always try to stay in touch with everybody, especially
and that's what I'm saying.
People who are in my heart. If I'm coming to your town, you can expect a call.
And it's true, folks. Like, he is genuinely that warm, and that's why I'm saying this story, so that you understand. Not so I can go, wow, brag, Tommy called me. It's so you understand Tommy is genuinely the dude he's talking about, and God bless you for that, Tommy. You're a good man.
I appreciate that.
So I had a listen this morning to. I didn't get, unfortunately, through the entire album because I've got another project on the books which is going to be released in the next 24 hours. I've been keep saying that, but I have to push it back. It's going to be massive and very funny. But I had a listen to Heart Songs this morning, your most recent release.
The duets with John Knowles.
Oh, my God. Tommy, like every time I listen to you play, you give me emotions that just well me up with just like, it's adulation of like, oh, my God. And I'm laughing. I'm grinning.
It was like this guitar on that album.
Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. I mean, when you play like you play just a single note with vibrato, it's like a voice, you know. How deep is your love? I've got this guitar in a different tuning, so as soon as I went to go into the chorus, it's the wrong tuning for that. But I just wanted you to hear the
tone. Is gorgeous.
The tone and how it speaks. You know, it's got a big sound hole. You can see that.
Folks, thank you for watching. Good night. Wow, that was just gorgeous, and it's funny because that was the song when that came on. It's the second track on the record. When that came on today, your love. I said to my wife, "Oh my God, listen to this! That's like one man on a guitar." And I mean, I love that song. You can't go wrong with the Bee Gees. My God, they wrote some beautiful music.
Let me tell you something. That Barry Gibb is a very dear friend of mine, and so is his son Stephen. And when John Knowles and I arranged "How Deep Is Your Love," we shot a video at my house in Nashville quite a few years ago, and we put it up on YouTube. And my phone rang one day, and it was a number I didn't recognize, and it was Barry.
Oh, wow.
The composer of the song, and telling me how much he just loved it, you know. And so he invited me to come and visit when I was down in Miami, because that's where he lived. And I went out to his house, and I had a beautiful afternoon with him and his son. And we played a bunch of tunes. And we actually played some Carl Perkins tunes. And he sang, well, it's a one for the money and two for the show. And he sang the hell out of it.
Wow.
So it was a great thing. Now, and here's another exclusive for you. I have never talked about this, but it's coming very soon. Barry Gibb has a new album coming, and we did a remake of How Deep Is Your Love, and I play on it and play a long acoustic intro and all that stuff. So
I can't wait to hear that. I mean, I deeply love that song. Those melodies and harmonies, and oh my God.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And the other thing about Barry, I don't know how old Barry is. He's got to be 10 years older than me at least, or more.
At least 25.
Well, I'll be 65 in May, and I think Barry's probably in his late 70s. He'd have to be. But I can tell you, he gets around like a young man, and he sings like a 21-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
It was so beautiful because we recorded his album at RCA Studio A in Nashville, the old original RCA studio where Chet Atkins used to produce artists, and it was all live up. I was sitting here with the mic on my guitar. The piano was behind me. The drums were in the booth, and the bass player was right there. And Barry was standing right here, and he was singing live with the headphones on. And it was so beautiful, you know. I kept doing a double take every time he'd sing because it was so full of love and emotion. And it was right there, you know. It's an amazing experience.
Definitely. That would almost be a visceral experience. Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I
just think it's wonderful as well to see that it was recorded in such an organic way as opposed to everyone tracking their parts.
That's always the best.
Absolutely.
It's always the best. I've done a million things where I've dropped in, like when I played on Michael Jackson's posthumous album, the track that they wanted me to do, they sent me the master into London, and I put my part on, and then I emailed it back to them, and they mixed it and did all that. You know, I've done that with I did that with a Diana Ross track, and I was on tour in England, and Peter Asher flew from LA to London, caught the train up to Manchester, met me at the studio, downloaded everything out of his laptop. I put my acoustic guitar on with a mic and the whole thing, and then he just sucked it all back into his computer and went back to LA. You know, it's like that's our modern world.
So which Michael Jackson track did you play on, sorry?
It's the last track on his posthumous album. It's called Much Too Soon. In fact, if you listen to that album, the very last sound that you hear on that album is my harmonics on the end of his song.
Nice. Oh, your harmonic ability is incredible. For those of you out there who don't play guitar, so I want to do a little bit of, not necessarily tuition, but just sort of lift the lid, because I'm a guitar player, Tommy's a guitar player, Dave's a drummer, but he plays guitar too. Can you show the folks out there what the difference is between playing a note and playing the harmonics the way that you do, so that they can learn what this is?
Well, you know, you've got a note, then here's the harmonic. So, you know, you just touch the string. There are lots of different ways of playing harmonics. In fact, I'll grab one of the other guitars, which is in normal guitar tuning, and I'll play a piece using all the harmonics. Can I play a song for everybody right now?
Of course you can. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so what I'm going to play for you now is a fairly new piece that I wrote. There's a city at the top of Poland called Gdansk, and it's a seaport. You know, it's a seafaring place. And
before you start,
sorry,
can you just, like, when you actually start playing, just for the advantage of the audience, just sit back a little bit more and make sure whatever you can see in your camera is what they can see. So we'll make this work for the folks out there.
I will. So out of my hotel room, I could see all the boats lined up and fishing boats and all that sort of stuff. So I wrote this there. It's called Gdansk. Check it out. Here we go.
Wow.
Oh wow, that is just incredible, Tommy. That's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Wow. I'd just like to quickly say hello to our audience. We currently have 107 people watching on YouTube. However, between YouTube and Facebook, because I don't have all the numbers here for Facebook, but we currently have 430 people watching this live right now, which is not bad.
That's pretty good.
And across the course of the broadcast, there'll be more. So please, if you're out there watching on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, send out the links, tell your friends, because this is going to be a bit of time that is really going to be special. So let's continue with Tommy. So now, Tommy, on the harmonics thing that we were explaining to people about the harmonics, you have a technique, which I know some guitar players do, but my God, you do it masterfully, where you pick and you use your finger to be able to create the harmonic. Can you show the folks up there who don't really understand how that works?
All right. So say I'll take a D9th shape like that. And now I shall I'll spell out the notes. Right, so what I'm doing is, with my third finger, I'm playing an open note, then I'm switching to the harmonic, which I'm plucking with my thumb pick. So you get... You got these kind where you go. Right, that's harmonic, open note, and a pull off with my little finger there. Right?
Wow.
So, and that comes directly from Chet Atkins. I got it. A quick trip to the chiropractor. Okay. Yeah, Chet Atkins was the first on record to ever make that sound. And it was a beautiful recording back in the early 50s. And then along came Lenny Breau, and he really perfected it and gave Chet a lot of incredible ideas, which all the rest of us are still guilty of petty theft. We still are thieving as much as we can. You know, you can take a tune like, there's an arrangement of mine of the Beatles song, Michelle. Let me play a little bit of that for you. I'm going to get a little closer for this. You ready? Here we go.
Let's hear it.
Beautiful, man.
Wow.
Here we are.
I'm almost speechless, and everybody who knows me knows I can't shut up.
He can't.
Wow. Seriously, like, wow, Tommy.
Thank
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for giving us all the gift that is you and sharing it with us, because, man, wow. Look, I mean, I know this is kind of funny, but for people out there watching, this comment says it all to me. And I know that most people can't read that. I can. Ohayou gozaimasu, Takahashi Naoko-sama, arigatou gozaimasu. What she said there is kakui, which is Japanese for that is so cool.
Really?
Yep. That says kakui. And she's bang on. Like, wow. And that's, look, it's expressed in Japanese, but it really says the sentiment.
This is the thing. Like, I'm always looking for to do something that has beauty to it. It either has beauty or it has soul or terror or groove or it puts a smile on your face, whatever. But whatever I do in any genre of music, I'm always trying to do something that contains, a bit of the emotions that really move us. Whether it's funny, whether it's heartfelt, whether it's beautiful, whether it looks like art or sounds like art, I don't know. But I'm always looking to that has to be in whatever I'm doing, Believe
me, it comes across. It really does. Now I got a little wonderful one here for you. We have people watching all over the world, as we know, and we got a wonderful comment you're about to see come up on screen here that I think is going to give you a little bit of a buzz. Here we go.
Is that on? Turn it up, Bubba. Turn it up.
Isn't it wonderful when old friends reach out on platforms like this?
Yeah. Well,
have you
Neil Seagrott and I, he was my wonderful sound man. He's from Leicester. And hello to all the folks in England. Bubba, I got booked for a show at the Guildhall in Leicester, which is one of the oldest venues in the world. And Shakespeare had appeared on that stage.
Wow.
And anyway.
Shakespeare's so lucky to have appeared on the same stage as Tommy Emmanuel.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Anyway, I turned up for sound check and the PA was set up and there was this big guy at the desk and I plug in and start playing and it just sounded incredible. And so we did 2 shows that night because they sold out pretty quickly. And after that, I said, Bubba, you got to come and work for me. And so he did. He traveled around the world with me and has done a great job. The guy who's with me now, Steve Law, he's a fellow Australian. He does a great job too. But Bubba and I have been through a lot of miles. He came to Russia with me the first time. We just did a lot of miles together and, a lot of funny things. Like, for instance, I was playing the Trowbridge Folk Music Festival in England, and it was in this massive big top, and it was packed. Must have been 10,000 people. And the PA was massive, like a building, And I finished my set off with my tribute to the Aboriginal folks called Initiation, which is meant to be big, loud, and full of drama. And it was so big. The sound was so amazing. Anyway, I had a great show. But Bubba told me later that he was way up in the sound, mixing sound, which you have to go up all this scaffolding to get up there and all that because you're above the crowd. And the sound guy who ran the PA was so into what we were doing. When we come to doing Initiation, the sound guy leaned over to Bubba and said, there's 1 more dB. In other words, before the PA is at its maximum, there's 1 more dB. Do you want it? And Bubba said, yes.
Oh, that's hilarious. For those of you who don't know, dB means decibel, which is how we measure the increments of a volume. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
And that night, I finished my set and the crowd were amazing. I came off stage, and there was a guy standing at the side, well-dressed, suit and tie, and he was standing there holding a business card like that. And it had a logo that I recognized, PML Productions, Paul McCartney's company, or MPL. And yeah, and I said to him, "Oh, you work for Mr. McCartney?" And he said, "Yes, I'm here to offer you a job." And I said, "Am I in the band?" And he said, "No, Mr. McCartney wants you to teach rock and roll guitar at the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts. Wants you to teach rock and roll guitar from the 50s and 60s. My bag, baby." Wow. And I immediately said, as a joke, I said, "Oh, come on, he can't afford me," like that. And the guy just smiled, and he said, "Oh, you can name your price." And I swear, I thought about it for about 15 seconds. And a voice in my head said, "Back on the road, road dog." And,
wow.
So I could have had a cushy job, you know. But Paul,
what an offer.
Paul is such an incredibly generous person. And the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, LIPA, is his project, and wow, his heart is totally into that. And I remember when I met him backstage in a place called Sioux Falls in South Dakota a few years ago. He said to me, "Sir, you taught at LIPA for a little while." I said, "Yeah, I did 2 master classes there." Yeah. And he said, "Yeah, you've got to follow your heart." He said, "Do you know that building was my old high school, and they were going to tear it down and build apartments." He said, "And I couldn't bear it. So I bought the building, and I bought the one beside it, and started the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts."
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How about that?
And that's there it is. Cool. It's giving back.
Yep.
Which is so beautiful.
Well,
and that's,
if you go backstage at a Paul McCartney concert, you'll see kids with cancer with rainbow-colored wigs and people in wheelchairs. You'll see him giving to everybody backstage. He's an amazing guy. He's a great example to all of us.
Absolutely.
I have to say, to have I have 3 ultimate shows. Not to say you're not, but I'm just saying 3 ultimate shows I'd love to do on here. Of course, one is Sir Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
The other is Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson from Rush. Which
oh
wow. And the other one is, of course, Roger Taylor and Brian May from Queen. But Paul McCartney, I've thought of it's funny because you fantasize in your head about all sorts of things in life, but I don't think you can get any higher than getting Paul McCartney.
I don't think so.
Maybe Paul and Ringo together, but
Ringo's brilliant too, isn't he? Have you seen that? Have you seen the video of Robbie Robinson's "The Weight"? Take a load off, and have you seen the video with Ringo playing drums?
No.
Oh my God! The groove is unbelievable.
The guy is just such a phenomenal drummer.
And
there's
what
actually a video
sound he's got. He's got such a sound,
There's a video on YouTube where all these guys, like big name drummers, are there and saying about how much Ringo did it for them. It's in black and white, if I remember correctly. And they're just talking about Ringo. And Ringo is probably, honestly, I think people throw around the term underrated all the time, but I really think Ringo is probably the most underrated musician of all time.
Absolutely.
Well,
I mean,
when I was young, I was so used to everything, like people used to say, "Oh my God, the Beatles are so great," and blah, blah, blah. And when I was young, I had no appreciation of that because I was trying to focus on learning guitar, and their stuff sounded a bit rough and ready to me when I was a kid compared to the stuff I was listening to.
Yep.
But when I grew up and I rediscovered the Beatles,
Sorry. Here. Oh, you got something on your computer too?
Sorry, it was a friend of mine trying to call me.
You're allowed to have friends, mate. It's all good.
Yeah, I've got one left, and so Because my mother, in all her wisdom, said to us when we were kids, 1964, and the Beatles are, got 3 songs in the top 10 in Sydney or in Australia. And my mother said, "Don't listen to that rubbish. It's the Beatles. They're awful. It's awful. It's rubbish." Anyway, my mother comes to one of my shows many years later, and I play Michelle like I played just now. And after the show, she came up to me and she said, "What was that beautiful song with the whole arm?" And I said, "That was a Beatles song, Mum."
Oh, bless her. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want to go off a little bit here. Oh, my God. Look at this. People who aren't even Japanese putting comments here in Japanese. You silly people. What are you doing? You should just write in English, Robin. Anyway, I want to go on to a part of your career that some of your fans may not actually be aware of because, not being in Australia for everybody and not having grown up in the 80s in Australia. One of the things that Tommy does incredibly well, which you would have seen if you've seen the JD Simo appearance that Tommy made doing Little Help With My Friends. My God, that was so cool. He's a talent and a half, isn't he?
Isn't he?
So Tommy was doing a guest spot with an Australian band that I love, and I mean I don't like them from back then. I mean I absolutely love their 80s era, and that would be Dragon.
Oh, right.
And there was a song. There was a song that Dragon had out.
Before you say that it's
I know they're from
Australian
New Zealand. Here we go.
Yeah.
Go on, Dave. Tell them.
Yeah.
The sync's going to be out for everyone else. Good.
How about...
So sad for the mama and the papa. Oh, man, I love Body in the Beat for me. Oh,
yeah, but Body in the Beat. We used to open with Wilder World. It was such a cool thing. My part was... Then the keyboards... And the chorus. Oh, in my wilder world, there'll be room to roam. Oh, in my wilder world.
Oh, I don't know if the sync's on, but man, that feels from where I'm
the
sitting.
sync is bad, but anyway.
The sync is awful.
But Mark Hunter used to sing the hell out of that stuff. Oh my God,
yeah,
what
Mark
a
was
beautiful
amazing.
singer.
So look, I do have here on my screen here. This is the song called "Dreams of Ordinary Men." Now, for those of you who don't know it, I got to warn you right now, just quickly before I play it. This is an old video that's been on YouTube for about 10 years, and we currently watch most things in the resolution of 1080p, which means from the top to the bottom of the screen, you have 1080 pixels. For those of you who don't understand, this video is like 240p, which means it's basically on what we're looking at here about this big. So when it blows up, it's all fuzzy. Here's the intro of the song, because this whole show here is about inspiration. So here is a little bit of that, and then I'll jump to Tommy's solo, which is going to knock you on your butts. Because if you've only ever heard Tommy play acoustic, wait till you hear this. So there's the groove for you to have a listen to, all right? And I'm going to jump up to the guitar solo because you've got to hear this. I might go a little bit to the chorus. Okay. Here's the bridge build up before the solo.
Have to find
to change my world like I changed my mind and change my life if I could only change my dreams.
Check out this solo, folks. I mean, seriously, that just screams like what a tone, Tommy! Wow.
It was a rock, one of those rock. I can't think what they were called now.
Rockman.
That's all it was.
No, it wasn't. It was those fingers. That's what it was.
Nothing to do with the Rockman at all. Absolutely.
So, so your vibrato, like, is.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's too long ago.
I love the which is an octave higher than what I just did it then, but like the way that just screams, it's like a roaring engine on a hot rod.
Well, it was some good studio trickery done by Todd Rundgren.
And you can't really go wrong with Todd Rundgren,
You can't go wrong with Todd Rundgren.
So with Dragon, did you actually play on the Body and the Beat album?
No.
You toured that album?
No,
right?
that was 83. That was recorded in Sydney.
Yep.
And it was mixed at the Power Station in London.
Nice studio.
But in 84, I had just produced Sharon O'Neill's record, Power. Power. And I was producing records for CBS in those days, which became Sony, of course. But anyway, Sharon had this album out, which I'd played on. I'd done the whole album. And then she wanted to do this new record, and she'd written this song about Big Brother, really, about politics and the people who are really in power. Yeah, and I produced the track. I played drums and bass and guitars, percussion and stuff on it. And the song came out, and it got into the top 5, I think. Did really well. And Sharon got offered the Body and the Beat tour in 84.
Wow.
So there was a band called the Electric Pandas, and then
I remember them.
Yep, Sharon O'Neill, and then Dragon. And I ended up being the drummer with Sharon O'Neill. And yeah, because at the time,
didn't see that coming.
Yeah, her husband Brent, he was the guitar player with her, and so they wanted me to play drums because they liked the way I played drums, and so I joined the band as the drummer. And we had Dennis Mason playing sax and percussion and singing harmonies, Maggie McKinney on harmony, and Brent and Sam McNally on keyboards, and myself on drums. And it was a great band. And on that tour, every night I'm out there playing drums with Sharon. I looked over and there's Todd Hunter watching me play. And,
wow.
And it was just great. And I got to know them all really well. And Robert Taylor, who was the guitar player in Dragon, Robert sort of said, well, I'm getting ready to leave soon. And so maybe you might want to consider joining the band. And I remember staggering out of a club up at King's Cross very early in the morning, like 3 or 4 in the morning, to go get a taxi and go home. And I walked past a place called Wiener World, which was a 24-hour restaurant. And there I looked through the window, and there's Mark Hunter and Paul Hewson sitting, eating a meal at like 3 in the morning, bottle of wine, talking away like 2 old English gentlemen. And they beckoned me in, and I went in and had a drink with them. And they said, we really would love to have you in the band. Would you like to play with us?
Wow.
So I in those days, I had a duo with my lovely brother, Phil, and we were the Emmanuel brothers, and we were busy as one-armed fiddlers. We were traveling up and down the east coast of Australia, playing everywhere. And when I had agreed that I would join Dragon, the first show was in Merimbula, which was south of Sydney, down near Kiama. It was an out-of-town gig because there was no time to rehearse. So they sent me a live tape of the show with the guitar up in the mix a little, and I had a listen, and I mean, I knew quite a few of the songs anyway, you know. Yeah. Anyway,
I
it
can
was
hear
really
the whole arrangement in my head while you're doing that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I learned the show as best I could, but I was like, you know, as we say in Australia, shitting bricks on the first show because there was no time to rehearse. So thankfully, the other guys, Don Perry from Jethro Tull, he was the drummer, and Todd was playing bass, and Alan Mansfield, brilliant keyboard player, and Mark Hunter was in like top condition. He was really smoking. And so I joined the band at a good time when everybody was on the up and up, and they just had like 4 number 1s with Body and the Beat and all that stuff. And that first show in Marimbula was like a blur to me. I was trying to remember everything and get a sound, you know, because I'd been playing acoustic for all those years, really with Phil. All of a sudden, I've got my telly back out, and I've got a couple of pedals. I got a delay pedal and a distortion pedal or something, and I've got a 50-watt Marshall head and a quad box, and that's all I had. And it was great fun. It was absolutely great fun, you know. And just to get that sound, you know, at the start of Speak No Evil. We all live in a small town, you know, and playing with a band where the bass player and the drummer, you just can't get better than that groove, you know.
Yep.
And for me, it was like, it's like I was living in black and white, and it suddenly turned to color.
I can understand that completely.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there who aren't familiar, I can't recommend enough this band Dragon that we're talking about. They are, yes, they are from New Zealand, David.
No, well, they're Australasian, mate. They're from both.
That's true. They are both sides of the pond. So you can get the album in 2 forms. So this is the actual album, Body and the Beat, Dave. If you don't mind just looking that over for me, this album is absolutely just stupendously cool. Yeah. So that is the album cover for Body and the Beat. But then that's actually kind of hard to find.
There was another one, Ozambezi.
Correct.
Ozambezi.
But if you get this particular album on the screen right now. Cuts from the Tough Times, I should say. This album here has a bit of a compilation where it has songs from both Body and the Beat and then the album Dreams of Ordinary Men that Tommy appeared on that we were just playing just a moment ago. And if you find that somewhere, be it on iTunes or Spotify, whatever, I promise you, those songs still stand up to this day. You put that music on, you put on your headphones, and it feels fresh as ever. It's phenomenal. And this is the thing, for those of you who aren't Australian, we had, during the 80s, I mean, you're talking In Excess, Midnight Oil. I mean, they're household names around the world. And there's a plethora of other groups that came out of that. Jimmy Barnes, who was singing with Joe Bonamassa.
Absolutely.
And Tommy appeared on quite a bit of this stuff back then. Like, I know that you joined Dragon, but what else did you play on? Yes, so Men at Work. Who else did you play with?
I played on, I played on a lot of stuff back then. Well,
would it be fast if you to tell us who you didn't play on?
Well, probably, yeah. In those days, I practically lived at EMI Studios because there are 3 studios plus a mixdown suite in one complex, which was run by the same people who ran Abbey Road, EMI. EMI, which stands for Every Mistake Imaginable. And money serious. A little record company humor there. But it would be quite common for me to be at 8 a.m. playing, on a Wheat Bix commercial. Aussie kids I pigs kids, and then I go down the hallway and play on something like TDK does amazing thing.
I remember them.
And then Coca-Cola, McDonald's, everybody's working. And then, I might play on a country record. And then I might that night go over to Albert Studios and play on a Mike McClellan record or something.
So
like
what
that.
did you play with Farnham, as Stuart Ewarts just brought up? What did you play with John Farnham?
With John, I was there right from the 79 to 1980. We'd play stuff like I'll try to see that too.
Oh, Hold the Line by Toto.
Yeah. We would open the show with that song, and then we go into all the originals that Graham Goebel had written. Yeah, tunes like Matilda.
I was getting to that, Dave.
Yeah, John would sing that song. I mean, he's one of the greatest singers to ever live, and he still is.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And so the opening phrase of that song, sitting at home on a Saturday, thinking of he's like straight up to a high A in full voice in the first tune. Just freaking off the chart.
Yeah, Farnham is a machine.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have him on the show, no question of that. I just like to highlight this comment here and why this is so important. So Noemi Nuggy says, hello, Tommy,
From
David,
Hungary.
and Jason from Hungary. Now, I've just Googled this. Currently in Hungary, it is 2:54 in the morning. So thank you very much for being up so late and watching our show. We appreciate that. Thank
you. Yeah, that's for sure. Thank
you. And
I was just in Hungary earlier this year. I had a most fantastic night in Budapest. It was incredible.
I'm sure it was. I've got here just a comment from my dear friend Andrew Lyons. We played in a band together back in the early 90s, mentioning about Hold the Line. And when you played that, and then you said Farnham was singing it.
That's it. Luke.
I'm
always sending Luke little messages.
Oh, he's amazing.
I just heard you on the radio or whatever. Unmistakable,
Well, tell him a message.
Solos.
Send Luke a message. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, Steve's solos on Boss Gaggs's Breakdown Dead Ahead. Holy hell, that is. And what about on the Tubes? She's a Beauty. Wow, what a solo on that.
He can't do any wrong.
Luke,
that
man.
guy.
He's unbelievable.
So for those of you
there
watching,
so many
who
great
aren't,
players out there.
of course there are, but for those of you who are watching who don't realize, we're talking about Steve Lukather, the guitar player from the band Toto. Next time you send Luke a message, send him a message and say, "Hey, listen, Luke, you need to get on Jason's show, live streams with famous friends, because he'll need to see you."
Okay. Will do.
Up there.
So I've got Luke's email. I've been meaning to email him and ask him to come on anyway. I've just been busy. Now I wanted to. Where was I going to go? Oh, that's right. Of course, this is very, very important. Your guitars. We need to talk about your guitars and the man who builds them.
Yeah.
So Tommy has been playing ever since. Was your very first guitar a Maton guitar?
My first good guitar, yes. Prior to that. You got to remember, I started in '59, so I was 4 years old. But I didn't turn pro until I was 6. And
that's the truth, isn't it?
It is the truth. It sounds it's a good joke, but it is the truth, actually.
That's amazing.
My first good guitar, as well as my brother Phil, was a Maton MS 500. And MS stood for Master Sound.
Sound.
They still make them. And
they do.
Anyway, that guitar is in the museum. If you go to the Maton factory, you go through the front doors, and there's a beautiful museum, and my guitar's in there behind her. They've got the original case and everything, which my brother Chris drew my name and my age. I think it says Tom Emmanuel Midget Safaris. 10 years, I think it was, or 8 years, or something like that. But that guitar was my first decent guitar. But I've been playing Maton since then, and but now they have the custom shop, and Andy Allen, God bless him. Andy Allen makes great guitars. This is another one of Andy's. This is just about my favorite 808 that he made for me, and it's thinner this way. It
has got a
slightly thinner. Oh,
who is that kid?
That's me. There you go. That's the guitar.
What I do love about Maton is they haven't changed that design as far as shape and style of that. They've left it.
No. Yeah.
We're on to absolutely on a winner. We'll leave it because it's a winner. And they're beautiful.
They are. Yeah. And it just gets better and better. My new stuff. In fact, there's a video came out a few days ago of a song that I wrote for my brother Phil. It's called Sail On. And that's this guitar, you know. It just sounds so good with a mic on it. Really does. In fact, maybe I should play that.
I would be honed, mate. I would love to.
Thank you, mate. Let me just get the capo.
I'd met Phil a bunch of times because, you know, Phil was, I can't remember, was he living in Adelaide or just visiting a lot?
No, we used to play in Adelaide a lot. Oh.
Because Phil used to come in. I was working at the Allen's Music Store in Gawler Place back in 91, 92, and Phil used to come in quite a bit. And your brother was such a wonderful guy. Like, even back then, he was super genius. Well, he runs in the family. Look, here's you and your brother right here. I mean, you know what you guys look like, but there you go, folks. There's a young Tommy and his brother Phil right there.
Look at that, mate. And it's called an ibis.
Wow.
And funny enough, that Phil in that photo, I mean, you changed a little bit as you got on, but that still looks like Phil right up till the end.
Yeah.
Right.
It really does.
Yeah. Phil used to say, I've got a head like a mongrel dog.
That's a very Australian expression.
Yeah.
but like you.
Let me play his song for you.
Please, thank you. Now, what's the name of this piece again?
It's called Sail On.
Great. Let's go, folks. Just make sure you can see the guitar, Tommy.
How's that?
Yeah, just move back a little bit so we can see better. You're listening to the dulcet tones of Mr. Tommy Emmanuel.
It's
That was
so
beautiful,
gorgeous.
mate.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I have to say, it was, I suppose, my introduction to the Emmanuel brothers was through Phil's album Kakadu Sunrise.
All right, great album.
And it was a beautiful, an amazing album, and it charted very well over here in New Zealand. It did very well.
Great.
And it was one of those things. It was a chat I had with my father. My dad and I would travel with little bands that I was working with, and I was playing with a brass band at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2:00 in the morning. We're driving home from a gig I had out of town. I know Dad, wonderful guy, takes me home after these shows. I was too young to drive, and we had that album on, and it was just it's a timepiece for me just hearing that. And so the little inflections of the Kakadu Sunrise that you play at the beginning of that song, it's just it just sends chills, mate.
This song
beautiful.
is loosely based on Crocodile Dundee.
Yes,
because Crocodile Dundee goes. Right? So my song goes. So it's almost like echoing it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because Phil was so much like the character Crocodile Dundee. He was like that in real life.
He was.
You know? And there's a scene in the film that describes him perfectly. And that is when Dundee is with the young girl, the journalist, and John Mellion, his friend Wally. He says, "Hey, Wal, what time is it?" And Wal says, "Well, it's 2:30." And he says, "What day is it?" He said, "Well, it's Wednesday." And he said, "Oh, okay, see you on the weekend," like that. And he walks away. And Wal kind of looks to the camera and says, "Doesn't know, doesn't care. Lucky bastard." You know, and that's Phil. You know, yeah. I mean, Phil and I. People say, "Oh, you two were so alike." We were nothing alike. And I'll tell you, you know, Phil could care less about punctuality. It wasn't even in his vocabulary. You know, let alone what he didn't care. If it was an 8 o'clock start, at 8:15, he'd come up to me and say, "Make the bastards wait." You know, that's what he was like.
Sounds like Ian Moss.
Yeah. Everything's all right. You know, and I'll just tell you that there's a part of me that wishes that I could be like that, but I can't. It's not in me. I have to be I care about punctuality. If I'm supposed to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, I'm there at 20 to 8. You know what I mean? I'm early, and I want to know if everything's all right. Feels like I'll get there when I get there, and everything will be fine as soon as I plug in. You know.
Well, here's a good one for you because I think you're going to enjoy this one. This is related to you and Phil. Matthew Sorby says, "Perfect time for the story about Tommy and Phil nearly getting eaten by sharks."
Oh yeah, that was. We were in Mackay, and we'd been.
Love Mackay. Have you been up to Youngala? The view up there, the chalet across the valley. Go on, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, so we were trying to get some what do you call them? Sole. What do they call?
Flounder.
Flounder. Thank you. We were trying to get some flounder with a spear, with a metal spear, and him and I were going out, and the tide was starting to come in. And anyway, I thought I saw one, and what happened was I moved my foot like that, and this flounder moved like that, and Phil threw his spear and went straight in my foot.
Oh.
And and blood was going everywhere, you know. Ouch. And I was screaming in pain, and all of a sudden we realized that we were a little way out. I'm bleeding like hell, crying my eyes out, and the tide's coming in pretty quickly. So Phil grabs me and throws me on his shoulders, and I'm bleeding everywhere in the water. And he just makes a run for the shore, and all of a sudden we see all these gray things moving around, and all of a sudden there were sharks everywhere. And we made it to safety in time, but we could see where the sharks were, and we were very lucky to get out in time. And I still have that scar on my leg where the spear went in.
No surprise.
So, and the funny thing was, Phil always made a joke about, you know, he said, I tried several times to kill you and it just didn't work. You know.
Oh, wow.
There's the older brother mentality going on. Right?
Exactly. Well, he
age
ran over my foot with a lawnmower when I was 10 years old. We had a pretty big place there up in Ingham in North Queensland, and a fair bit of lawn, and we had 2 lawnmowers, and so I was always wanting to run one and Phil wanted the other. Anyway, we came to the corner and mine had stalled and I was trying to get it started and I fell over. And as I fell over, Phil came around the corner and ran straight over my foot.
What a wonderful brother.
Oh, he was. He tried so many things, you know, to so many times to do me in, but never quite made it.
And he went first. And I remember the day when I heard the news. I actually avoided sending you a message because I just figured to myself, he's going to be so inundated with this, and I just left you alone at the time. I probably took.
I was in England. He passed away while I was on stage in London.
Wow.
It was a great night too. It was at Union Chapel in London, a beautiful venue. And I eventually got back to my apartment, which was out in a place called Marlow, about little less than an hour outside of London. And there were hundreds of calls from my family in Australia. And I stayed up all night talking to everybody and you know, trying to come to terms with it. And especially for my little brother, Darcy, you know, who felt that he couldn't save him, you know. He'd actually passed away out at my little brother's place, and Darcy tried everything. He tried to resuscitate him. They called the ambulance. The ambulance came and gave him needles and electricity and everything, but nothing worked. And when they did an autopsy on him, they said his lungs were completely shot to pieces, and his esophagus was like slammed shut, and there was no way he was going to survive. So, yeah, it was a tough time. But, you know, I wrote that song, Sail On, the next morning. And, yeah, it's just, you know, you never think about things like that when everything's normal and he's here.
Of course.
But he's not here, you know. And I called him my irreplaceable partner. You know, I have a lot of guys that I love playing with. Martin Taylor, Frank Vignola, Joe Satriani, people that I love and admire. But what Phil and I had, you can only have if you're blood and if you've grown up playing together. I've always been his rhythm guitar player. That's who I've been all my life. You know, that's my first job. And it's why I love being a rhythm player. When I play with Martin Taylor and Frank Vignola and guys like that, you know, playing a tune like Jersey Bounce. You think you could find somebody to play rhythm and just do that, just hold that groove and just nail it? You know, it's so hard to find somebody that'll just go, don't do anything, just do that.
Just do the groove, play the song.
Just play the groove. Yeah,
Tommy, I've been playing guitar for 35 years and I wouldn't be able to even play what you played just then. This is what a lot of people don't understand about guitar playing. Playing the notes, anybody can do. It's the feel. It's
all
as
what
we
it's
call
all
it in
about.
music. It's getting it in the pocket, and what that means is like it just slides in the pocket and sits in the perfect spot. And you have the pocket in spades, my friend.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thanks. Well,
You're grooving.
it means a lot to me. You know, when I play with another player, you know, if most people who are excited to play with you, because they're excited to play with, they usually play all over you, and they don't even know that they're doing it. You know, the moment I play with another player, I immediately tone down everything I'm doing and listen to them and try to find how I can support them in the best way. But most people are like, oh, great, you know, playing a million things, you know. And I'm
Check
like,
this out. Look at this.
stop. You know,
That's me.
can you just hold the time? Don't push me. Don't pull me. Just hold the time.
Turn your ears on. Let's just listen.
I thought I'd let you know that one of our people who did episode 4 with us, Michael Sweet, the singer from the band Striper, is actually watching the show right now and just wanted to say, Michael just wanted to say, tell Tommy how much I love and respect him. He said, I often watch his videos. So there you go.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Michael's a hell of a singer.
I bet he is.
I would love, if you've never heard his voice, like he's from the band, as I said, Striper, I would love to connect you two and let you two do a track together because he has a phenomenal voice.
I bet he does.
To hear you and Michael Sweet playing together, that would be wow. I'll have to make that happen. Folks, you heard it here first. If that comes out, this guy came up with that stupid idea.
All right.
Now, I wanted to go on to talk about a very important subject, which I think a lot of people have heard and they've read it on your guitars, they read it on your social media and stuff, but probably don't really understand the implication of what this is all about. And of course, I'm talking about CGP. CGP standing for Certified Guitar Player. Now, you've told me personally, but please explain to the folks out there watching how the CGP came about, how you received the title, and please.
Oh, okay. Well, it's an idea that Chet Atkins came up with a long time ago. I mean, his thing was, you know, people like us spend our entire life being dedicated to music and to bringing people together with music and trying to inspire people all around the planet. And you know, someone goes to college for 3 or 4 years and has these letters and a plaque on the wall, and they can go and practice what they know and make a living and become, you know, a professor this or a professor of art or a certified practicing accountant, whatever. And I think it was just a little way of him saying, you know, there has to be another way of being certified, I guess. So he wrote all this out, and then he had the governor of every state of America sign off on it, and I've seen that. It's a huge, big document like that. And so he called himself Chet Atkins Certified Guitar Player, and then he decided he would bestow it upon the people he chose. The first person to get it was Jerry Reed. And Jerry's was, of course, for his unmatched body of work. I mean, he wrote so many great instrumentals for fingerstyle guitar. And then there was John Knowles. And on John's award, it says, you know, he gave up gainful employment to move to Nashville to be dedicated to working with Chet and his arrangements and writing all those books and teaching and, you know, inspiring people. So, and then there was Steve Wariner, who worked with Chet for many years and then had all these hit records and played very faithfully a lot of Chet stuff. And then there was me, and I got mine in '99, and on my award it says, for lifetime contribution to the art of fingerpicking. And then the last one was Paul Yandel, and Paul died of cancer just not long after that. But I think it was a nice thing but the Chet Atkins estate did for him, and it no longer exists. So really, I'm Steve Warriner, John Knowles, and I are the last three. Yeah, there I am getting it.
So what was it like meeting, Chet after, as a young boy, sending him a letter saying, you're an inspiration to me, that sort of stuff, and then eventually getting a letter back from him saying, look,
it was unbelievable. I think I was probably 12 years old when I wrote that letter to him. And it was just a fan letter from a kid out from nowhere, And he wrote back to me and gave me a black and white photograph and signed it to me. Wow. And it was just a great thing for the king of the world to do for you,
Yeah.
And you got to remember that in those days, in the 60s, there was nobody like Chet Atkins. He was the name on everybody's lips. And so he wrote back to me, and it was really beautiful. And I stayed in touch with him. And years later, when I was about 18, a friend of mine, Eddie Lewis, sent a tape to Chet. I was sitting in his lounge room playing some tunes for him, and because he was the world's biggest Chet Atkins fan. And he sent the tape to Chet and didn't tell me. And this other letter arrives, just a handwritten from the desk of Chet Atkins. And it said, "Dear Eddie, your friend Tommy's a hell of a player, blah, blah, blah. Lenny Bro was here and I played it to him and he was impressed. If Tommy comes to Nashville, here's my number," and gave me his office number.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, it was an amazing thing. And then, I think it was 7 or 8 years later, I eventually had enough money to come to and make my pilgrimage. In 1980, I made the pilgrimage to America, and I rang Chet, and he answered the phone. And I said, "I'm looking for Mr. Atkins." And he said, "This is he." And I said, "It's Tommy Emmanuel from Australia," thinking he won't have a clue who that is. He said, "Hey, Tommy, I was just listening to your tape. Why don't you come down?" So I came down to his office, and I'm sitting there, nervous as hell, and he came down the stairs, and there he was. It's like I knew him so well because I'd grown up. His music was in my soul and in my blood and in my bones. And he came over to me and he said, "You want to pick a little?" And I said, "Is there a mustache in Mexico?" And so we start playing, me and Bobby McGee, and he just joined in, and it was just like this. It was just
beautiful.
Yeah. And we stayed in touch, and 15 years later, in 1995, I got a call from him to say, "Would you like to record together?" And that's how that all began. And it was pretty an amazing experience. When he rang me and said, "Do you want to record together? We can write songs, and have you got any songs you might want to send me?" And all this sort of stuff. It was amazing. And so as soon as I hung up the phone, I wrote this tune. Let me play a bit of it for you, called "Mr. Guitar."
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Man, this is wonderful. We're getting so many great comments from people who are enjoying this. You wouldn't have caught this one because you're just busy playing, of course, but I love this one here from Wendy. I'm supposed to be working from home. This is the best distraction ever.
Thanks, Wendels.
We're getting some wonderful comments in here, and I have to apologize to the audience. It is very hard to remain engaged with Tommy and try and get images for you and check Facebook and do everything. And I'm trying my best to keep up, folks. But I'm appreciative for every single one of you watching. Thank you. And also, I have to say a quick, important thank you so far from Alan Preben and from Laszlo and from Michael Smith, who've all donated to the show while we're watching. Thank you.
Do you guys want to talk a minute while I take a pee?
Sure, please, by all means. By all means. Thank you for sharing with the world, Tommy. Yeah, I just wanted to say it was good timing, actually, because I wanted to say a quick thank you. We actually do have a donation link to the show, and I'm not trying to get rich out of this, but please understand, we put a lot of work into this show.
And when Jason says we, he means him. He does all this work. I'm lucky to be involved with this amazing man and what he does. So, look.
Thanks, Dave.
Please, feel free to donate to this show. This is an opportunity for Jason to help keep doing what he loves to do, which is exactly what this is. But also, it's an opportunity to see if we can push it. Let's make this bigger.
Yeah, we are trying our best on this show to during this whole horrible situation of what's going on with the virus. We just want you to be able to hear from the musicians that you love and respect and admire, and hopefully discover some music you didn't know about before. I've just built up a website, which I've just posted the website a couple of days ago, which is an acronym for the show. It's pretty straightforward. I'm putting it in the comments right now. There it is there. The link to the website is lswff.com. Pretty simple. Livestreamswithfamousfriends.com. I was hang on. It's telling me that for some reason the link didn't go through. I don't know what's happening here. I guess on Facebook for some reason it didn't go through. So for those of you watching on Facebook, if you want to see the shows that we've already previously done and know what shows are coming up, as I get a chance to and I spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours creating the thumbnails alone because I want the show to be quality. So as you go through and you check the website, there will constantly be updates. So whether you can check on Facebook or Instagram, Instagram I post on as well. But I just want to keep you guys updated with the shows that are coming up. So please check the website. It's the best central location to get the information. Mm-hmm. Welcome back. Now, this is not a Maton guitar, if I'm not mistaken. Is that a Taylor you're holding?
No, it's a Larrivee.
Oh, it's a Larrivee. Nice. Canadian company.
Yeah. They're... This is a tribute to me guitar made by Larrivee Guitars. Back in '96, when I was playing in Nashville with Chet Atkins, John Larrivee and his family came to the show, and the next day he sent me what we call a C10, which is this shape, a 12 fretter with the beautiful cutaway, and it has the what do you call it? Like the angel on the headstock, and all the fret markers are beautiful. What do you call it? Scottish heather, is it? Anyway, it's a very ornate, beautiful guitar. And Jean left a note under the strings saying how much he loved what I'd played, and he said, "Please accept this guitar as a gift from us. There are no strings attached."
That's
and so I still use it occasionally on different recordings and stuff. And it's a beautiful guitar. But John Jr., who's now kind of heading the company with John Sr., he said, "We'd like to make a tribute guitar to you that is affordable for people, that's not so ornate, doesn't have a pickup, it's just an acoustic guitar." So he virtually copied the shape and everything. He used the same woods, Indian rosewood, and it's just acoustic. It's nice. Do you want to hear a tune on it?
Of course.
Love to.
Like you had to ask.
Alrighty, here we go.
That's beautiful, mate.
Thank you.
So,
Nice guitar.
So lovely. What's a beautiful guitar.
It
We
is.
are so blessed to have this moment with you, Tommy. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
All right.
So we can see your chest right now. Oh, he's got another guitar. Look at wow, this guy. He's made of guitar.
I aims to please.
and believe me, please you do. I have a quick hello for you here.
Okay.
I hope you remember this gentleman. He's been a friend of mine for over 30 years from my hometown of Adelaide. He used to run the Adelaide Rock Shop. Gentleman by the name of Ian Wright.
Ian Wright. Yeah. Hello, Ian.
Ian, Ian and I have the same birthday. He's 8 years older than me, but we actually have the same birthday. Wonderful guy. Ian
Fantastic.
works for Laney Amplifiers now, and
That's right.
He
Yeah.
was working for Harman previously, and he's a good man, Mr. Wright. So shout out to you, Ian, and
Thank you.
a quick hello from Tommy's mouth and chest because you can't see your face.
Yeah. Hello.
There we
go.
And just real quick, I received a really funny story about your brother here. Our true champion of the show, Doug De Jong from Queensland. You may know Doug. I'm not sure. He's a phenomenal guitar player. He says Phil told a story about locking a drunk patron in a road case loading out from venue A, let him out at another town in venue B the next day.
Yeah, no, I remember that night. That was when we were in Gold Rush, and there was a really drunk guy who passed out right in front of the PA. So what we did is we loaded him in to a road case and took him in the back of the truck to the musicians' room, the musicians' club on Chalmers Street there in Sydney, and we played a late show. And we woke him up, and he got out, and he was in a totally different venue in a different part of town. And he wondered where the hell he was and how he got there, and everything. It was great.
You did that in today's world, you'd be in some serious trouble. But back then, you got away with a lot.
So, Tommy, we've had a question come through here from New Zealand.
Okay, great.
From Orion Juiced. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Just asking, how do you maintain your repertoire? How do you sort of keep it all there? Is it just, what is it?
It's here.
Because he hasn't gone senile yet.
You need, no, I haven't. But you need to practice. I mean, obviously if there are songs that I haven't played in years, I'm a very spontaneous person on stage. So, I never work to a set list, and sometimes people sing out for a song, and I might launch straight into it. And by the time I get to the bridge, I might have forgotten the bridge, and I'll need to fumble my way through it until it comes to me, you know. So these things do happen. But when, you know, people think you sit around and practice scales and modes, and it's not true. I practice songs. When I practice, I play songs as if you're listening. You know what I mean? Now, it's more sincere practice. It's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do on stage. I'm going to practice this song and make sure that I know it's all right. But I use memory for everything. I can't read music. So when I write a song, what I do is I record it here on my iPhone.
Yep.
Like, let me just show you. Like, for instance, the other day, I was working on a song, and I just did this. Let's see. Right, there you go. So that's how I remember that bit. That's how I remember that bit. I just recorded. Oh, I'm recording now. How did that happen? See, I'm technically challenged with all things. So
well, that's right. You're not challenged on a guitar,
when
so we're all good there.
The most challenging instrument I know. But when I write a song, I use repetition. What I do is, once I know I've got everything together and the song's all working, then I just kind of switch modes and go into practice mode, and I just play it over and over and over. You know, and I use this idea to show people how you go about learning something difficult. Like, for instance, the Beatles song Lady Madonna that I play, where I play all the parts at the same time.
I love the way you play that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know, let me show you how you can work that out. So when you're going to approach something that's really complicated, what you got to do is find out your goal. My goal was, I want to play the piano part, and I want to play the singing part.
Can you show us?
Yeah, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, thank you.
I must have bumped it. Okay, so I wanted to do those two things at once. So how do you do that? Well, you can't learn them separately and put it together. Your brain doesn't work like that.
No.
So you got to work out bar by bar how to do that. So here's a bit of Lady Madonna at a learner's pace. Right? So I get that far and I practice that up until I can go. And I practice that over and over and over until I can go. Now I learn the next section. Then I practice that up. Then I put the two together. My neighbor downstairs is going to be wondering when the earthquake's going to hit, because I'm banging my foot like hell as soon as I start. I remember one time I was doing a live video thing, and we were there was another guitar player, and we broke into Guitar Boogie, and my landlord rang straight away and said, "What's going on up there? The neighbors think there's an earthquake." You know. It's just me banging my foot. But anyway, getting back to Lady Madonna for a sec, the thing is that you just work it out slowly and then work it up. And how our brain works is when I play it for you, I'm not thinking about, because I've already done all that. What I'm thinking now, I'm free to think about how do I want to make it feel, and how do I want to move the melody, and do I want it to go, Lady Madonna, children at your feet, or do I want to go, Lady Madonna, children at your feet? Do I want to anticipate the melody? What do I want to do with it? And that sets me free to do that. And it takes a lot of practice to get it to that point. And what happens is you stop thinking about all the other stuff, because it becomes motor skills that your hands can do for you without you thinking about it. Then my attention goes to the feeling and the melody and all that stuff, you know? So when I'm playing... To find some money when you pay the rent, you know, I'm not thinking about all the other stuff. I'm just thinking about the melody and the feel of it. So that's kind of breaking it down into science. That's really how my brain works anyway.
Yeah, I think it's right. A lot of muscle memory and repetition is how it.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you can pour the feeling into it. Absolutely. When you're free, you know, when you're free.
Yeah, once you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
I have a request that's just come through. Okay. Excuse me, on Facebook message to me from a very dear friend of mine in Scotland, who is actually going to be a part of the video project that I'm going to be releasing in the next 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Keep your eye out on my YouTube channel for that, because it's going to blow your minds what's coming up. Dave knows. But Cameron Brown, all right. As we know, there are a lot of guitar players up and coming over time, and it's wonderful the instrument's still alive. Cameron, I've got to make sure I send you his links, Tommy, because he's 24 years old. He's been playing guitar since he got his first guitar when he was 3.
Wow.
And his father's a guitar player. They're both watching right now in Scotland, and it's some ungodly hour of the morning over there.
Yeah, it is. It's let me see, so it's like 4 a.m. there.
There you go. And Cameron is a phenomenal guitar player. Like, you hear him playing like shred. He can Van Halen till the cows come home, but he can also acoustically play very beautifully. He's one of those few guitar players that's really that versatile.
Yeah.
He has a request. He says, would it be rude for me to request Classical Gas? Tommy playing that was one of the first guitar videos my dad ever showed me as a kid. This is for you, Cameron Brown. Oh my God!
There you go.
Amazing.
Oh.
Absolutely amazing. Just
I tell you what, I can hear the claps around the world from the people who are watching this stream, all sitting there just clapping and right now watching that. Cameron already sent me a message and said, my dad and I are both sitting here together with the biggest smiles on our faces right now, man. Thank you so much, Tommy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I've really got to make sure that you do check out Cameron Brown, a phenomenal guitar player. And he is definitely a wave of the future. And next time you get out to Scotland, I'll have to hook you guys up because you will love him. He's a good soul and a phenomenal guitar player.
Oh, I bet. Well, my brother in arms, Martin Taylor, lives in Scotland.
Nice.
There we go.
Wow, I was there recently for the Celtic Connections and also for the transatlantic sessions, me and Terry Douglas and Sierra Hull and a whole bunch of people. Beautiful, beautiful experience.
I just received a message here that I didn't even know about. Was it going to pop up on here? Where is it? Sorry, I just got to find it because it's. I don't know anything about this. Here we go. Hey Tommy, I got a shock
when I saw your finger the other day. Can see it was fine now. Tell us what happened and how you healed. Well, it's still healing. It's still. Let me just get that right. There's the finger. You see, it's still big. It's supposed to look like that, right?
It is supposed to look a bit. Yeah, that's got a bit of swollenness going on there, mate.
Yeah, it's really swollen. So I can do that with it now, but it's still. You can see the knuckle is still big and swollen.
It hurts just to look at it.
What happened was I dislocated it by falling, and I tripped over some luggage. We were backing a van at a car park next to the hotel in Dublin, in Ireland, and I just happened to I moved some stuff, and I didn't see one of the suitcases, and as I kind of went to get out of the way, I just fell straight down on my face into the luggage and guitars. I just fell down, and as I kind of rolled with it, so I wouldn't fall like bang on my face, I kind of rolled myself to the side, and when I brought my hand up, this finger. In fact, I can show you. Hang on a sec. I'll show you a picture of it. It'll make your stomach feel a little funny. But,
we're really looking forward to that. Thanks.
Yeah, I know you are. Of course you are.
Well, I haven't even seen it yet, and I'm already feeling the cheese coming on.
Oh yeah, it's.
It's lucky I'm sitting down.
Ready?
Hang on. I got a full screen here because if we're going to make this bad, we might as well make it horrible. What the hell? I can't handle that. Oh my God. Wow. I can feel that. My God, you must have thought your career was over in the moment.
Another view of it.
Seriously, I can't handle this.
Oh
my God, dude.
Yeah, well, what happened was my playing life flashed before me, but I was lucky it wasn't this hand, it was this hand. And so what I did is I did this. I'll show you.
I got to save Jubby's comment. Hang on, Dave. Did you read that?
No.
Don't put it up yet. That's all right. We'll get to that one. You finish what you're doing, then we'll show you this.
Okay. I did this. I taped. Once they were able to pop it back in, they X-rayed it and said it's not broken. It's just dislocated. We can pop it back in for you. And so they did. And then we just taped it together. And I played a show that night.
Wow.
And
I just
but
like
it was
looking at that.
massive. It was sticking out, but it's still not right yet. So.
I actually love the calmness of yourself being while taking the photos. You look so serene. Oh well, check this out.
What are you going to do? I mean, it hurt for a second, and then my adrenaline just kicked in.
A second,
and that helped me to stay calm.
Yeah.
And the ambulance came, took me to the hospital, and thanks to all those wonderful people at the St James Hospital in Dublin, and gave me a shot in the finger, popped it back in. We taped it up. I left. I was there about less than an hour, I think. And we drove. What?
If that was me, I would have been screaming like a little girl. No two ways about it.
Well, I as we say, I remained calm.
Calm, exactly. It's like my favorite old joke. What is it? Did you hear about the dyslexic cult? They all gave their lives in the name of dog.
Yes, exactly.
Now we have
about the agnostic dyslexic who was an insomniac as well and stayed up all night wondering if there is a dog.
Yes. A joke I've told on this show a few times recently because I like it. The Agent Bono walk into a bar and the barman goes, "Oh, not you two again."
Yeah, boom.
Now we have a wonderful comment here, and Dave and both buzzing about this one. This is funny because Dave and I have played together in many bands over the years, Tommy, and the first band we ever played in together was in Melbourne with a solo artist by the name of Justin Murphy. He used to sing in a band called Heaven Sent in Melbourne, and you're going to love this one. He says, back in 96, I did New Faces, and Tommy was the judge. We lost to a clown.
No, I think that was Red Faces. That wasn't New Faces. That was Red.
Well,
Faces.
he wrote New Faces. I don't know.
No, it's not. I was never a judge on New Faces. It was Red Faces on. So Justin, on Hey It's Saturday.
You know what? I'm gonna send Justin a link and invite him on here, and we can have a quick chat about that. Justin, check your Facebook messages, mate, because you're going to be getting a link from me right now, and we're going to invite you on the show.
Well, here we go. Look, the clown was called.
He sang a song called "Me Moon," not for Bert and Bert Newton. Had a
okay.
Maybe I did. Wow,
I guess
Bert
you must
Newton. Well, fight me all to hell, mister. The funny thing is, I don't have a recollection of doing New Faces, but if he was talking about Bert Newton, then it had to be because it was Daryl Summers who did.
Of course.
Hey It's Saturday. So
and that was such a great institution, that show.
Wasn't
Loved
it?
Hey It's Saturday. It was fantastic.
And a great bunch of guys and girls, and always treated you so well. And I did it a lot with and the Don Lane show with John Farnham a lot in the early days. That was a great era for television in Australia. People were actually funny.
Yes.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't from Australia who don't know what we're talking about, so Hey It's Saturday was a late night. Well, not even that late. Sorry, it was a variety show from 6:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. every single Saturday night, and we had like very famous musicians appearing on there. Tommy was on there countless amounts of time.
Yeah, I was on there a lot.
A lot of these bands we're talking about. And it was such a wonderful thing because it was family entertainment, but they always pushed the envelope a little bit. Like I guess to try and understand the Australian humor, we had this character that would come out that was a guy dressed up in a duck suit who would run around like a madman. But the segment was called Pluck a Duck.
Pluck a Duck, yeah.
And Plucker was just amazing. Justin, because I know you can hear me. Oh, that's right. He's there. Here he is. Look, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Justin Murphy, who lost to a clown.
Hey! Hey, Jubby.
Tommy, it wasn't Red Faces. It was New Faces. Karen Knoll. Karen Knoll was a judge. You were a judge. And we did a song called I met you backstage, and I remember the first thing I said to you, I was really embarrassed, and I didn't know what to say to you. And the first thing I said to you was, I didn't realise you were that grey in real life. And and I really felt bad, but it was the only thing I could think of. Now look how great I am.
I'm still,
no,
I'm still like that.
You can give it back now.
just flip your phone sideways, Jubby. There we go.
There's that.
All right.
Hey. No, it's,
Wow.
it was, oh, there we go. My finger's in the way. How do we do this? Oh,
other hand.
Right. Done.
Hand, yeah, no, it was.
How cool was that?
Yeah. Like, mate, I must say, you're an amazing player. Classical Gas, that version of Classical Gas you do is incredible. Incredible.
Thank you.
You're an incredible artist, and thanks for letting me on, guys.
Thank you, brother.
Our pleasure.
Well, good,
So Justin here, like me and Dave and Justin, we toured up the East Coast together, and we played around Melbourne a lot together, and we opened up for Mossy together. I got a funny Ian Moss story for you. Here you go.
Oh, great.
So we were playing at the Mercury Lounge in Melbourne Casino. And I was playing keyboards and guitar, and Dave was obviously using drums, and we had a 5-piece band all up, and Justin singing, and we were told, guys, you got to be ready for your gig on time. You can't be late. Okay, no worries. Mossy sat up there for 45 minutes, just sitting on a chair like this, playing his guitar, which he's Mossy during sound check. 45 minutes. Even his own road crew was sitting there going, "Get off, Mossy! Come on, we
mate.
just got on time. We play our set. We rocked the room. We recorded the audio that night. It was a really good show. We finished, and we're like, get ready for Ian Moss. As it turns out, Mossy and his crew jumped in the Tarago, which is, for those of you not from Australia, it's a van car in Australia. Went for a drive just to go and check out Melbourne, because I think he maybe lives in Sydney or something. They went and got some food or whatever. They finally came back, and Mossy's like, "Oh, I got to change the strings on my guitar. Hey, listen, you play guitar in the opening band. You come and change my strings for me." I'm like, "Okay." And I worked in guitar shops for many years. I changed his strings. We're doing it. He was 2.5 hours late to play his own show.
Crazy.
So
he said something that you'll never hear me say. Hey, come and change my strings for me. Never. When I don't want anyone touching my guitar, I want to change my strings myself, because I know how to do it. And all that sort of stuff.
I'm a singer, so I find it hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you can play guitar.
I want to know that everything's right, and that I'm prepared 100% before the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I mention it is because you were talking about your brother being just like that before, and I thought,
sure.
Mossy better than I do. So is he always like that, just like Phil, or did we just get him on a weird day?
I had no idea that Ian was like that. He's such a great guy, and what a
phenomenal player.
Oh yeah, and
what
singer.
a songwriter, and If anybody out there is watching and you're not familiar, Ian Moss is from a band called Cold Chisel. And I recommend, because Jimmy Barnes is the main lead singer in the band, and then the two of them trade off. Have a listen to a song called Bow River, B-O-W.
Bow River or
River.
Flame Trees.
Exactly.
Flame Trees is gorgeous. But Ian Moss's solo album, the very first one, the one with Tucker's daughter.
Tucker's daughter, yeah.
God, what an album.
Telephone booth.
Yeah.
And those productions still stand up to this day too.
Oh, they do.
Phenomenal music.
Absolutely.
So check out Cold Chisel and Bow River. I'm going to write it right now into the comments here. Cold Chisel is one of our true, I guess, I don't want to say Lynyrd Skynyrd, but just in the sense of like everyone in Australia knows the band and it's classic and everybody loves it. That's kind of the...
It's not just in Australia too. It's in New Zealand as well. I think, absolutely. I think it was...
I think Cold Chisel and Dragon had truly international songs.
Absolutely.
Of course, everybody knows Crowded House too. When Crowded House got really big, I remember seeing those videos of the band on tour in Europe, and you see the wind turbos and all that sort of stuff. And when I started touring around England, I'd see them and I'd go, that's what I saw in the Crowded House videos. Now I'm seeing it every day here in the Netherlands or in Germany or whatever. It was just, I felt connected, It's the same thing with feeling connected to Australia. It's like in '87 when I was in Dragon and we were traveling all around the world opening for Tina Turner. We were very fortunate. We got on the bill on her world tour, which was Break Every Rule album. And every night after the show, I would get on the bus and climb into my bunk and put on Mallee Boy by John Williamson and in my headphones, and I'd go back home in my mind. That album brought me back home just about every night. You know, awesome. We're driving down the highway in France or Germany or Italy or somewhere like that, and that's what I'm listening to. I don't mind at all if you call me a Mallee Boy. You know, I know every word of every song on that album. And I worked with John Williamson back in the 70s when he first started writing in that style. He was just doing that, you know, and it was a beautiful time. And I still love his work, you know. Don't go looking through that old camphor box, woman. You know those old things only make you cry. When you dream upon that little bunny rug, makes you think that life has passed you by. I mean, it's so beautiful, you know.
I just feel like I've been serenaded.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think a lot of the world, like, that wasn't necessarily in Australia, did definitely miss out on a lot of some incredible storytelling. Like, we definitely had our Bruce style artists in Australia over the years.
Oh, yeah. And we still do. Alan Caswell writes great songs, and Shuey from Red Gum. He is great, and the guys from the Bushwhackers. You know, the song about the Southern Cross, about the flag. You know, this is we're ready and willing and able to die for our country. That's what the song's about.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful stuff. The story of Les Darcy. You know, all I could wish for tonight is to see Les Darcy fight. How they cheered him, clapped him, and cheered him every Saturday night. Yeah, that's some music that's in my soul as well. You know, I love all that stuff as much as I love listening to Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles or Aretha Franklin.
Likewise.
You know,
Australia and New Zealand had some of the most amazing music. Like, I mean, I can't help it. That golden era of like 70s to say mid 90s of Australian and New Zealand music, there was just so much good stuff in there.
There was.
Yeah. And it's not that people aren't still making good music today. It's just changed. Like back then, you had to rely so much on storytelling. Today, there's just so much production going on that I think that kind of gets a little bit in the way of the storytelling per se. But there was some amazing stories in those songs back then.
Exactly.
I sound so old, but it's true.
But you're absolutely right, and I feel the same. You know, I was watching the documentary Acoustic Rising, which is a really, really good video, and it's mostly about the younger generation of guitar players who have taken what Michael Hedges did, and you know, Andy McKee and Don Ross and Preston Reed and people like that. People that play the way I don't. They tap, they play grooves, and it's a whole different genre, you know. And you know, I got a very small feature in the documentary because I don't play that way, and it just doesn't come natural to me. And so much of that stuff, I'm waiting for the melody to start. I'm waiting for them to tell me a story. But what I understood from watching that documentary is that it's just about groove and a musical adventure, you know. Whereas a person like me, I'm waiting to be moved in a different way. I'm waiting to be taken and told a story, to have my emotions taken somewhere, and it's just a different way. And I have to accept that that's what I do is from the previous generation almost. You know, I'm trying to invent new stuff all the time, but I keep coming back to it's got to have a melody. Like for instance, one of the last things I wrote
Sorry, one quick second, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of noise coming in from your phone, mate. I don't know what's. I might have to let you go just because of the noise.
Yeah, let's get rid of him.
Let me go, mate. Let me go. Before I go, though,
Yep.
a quick question for Tommy. What's the most unexpected track that you'd see Tommy Emmanuel's name on? If I was to look, like the most unexpected, the left of center sort of track.
Michael Jackson's "Much Too Soon."
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
There, got you, didn't it?
Yeah, I'll go and look that up. Thanks for the chat, fellas. Look after yourself, Tommy.
See you, Justin.
Thanks,
Thank
Justin.
you.
Thanks, Chubby. Good
Bye-bye.
to see you, man. Take care.
Uh,
Stay safe.
Yeah.
He's a good fella.
Yeah.
Lost to a clown.
Let me play one of the last things that I wrote, and just give you an idea of like it's got to have a melody, otherwise I can't play it. You know, I can't just be banging away in an odd tuning because it sounds nice and hit a harmonic, and you know it's got to take me somewhere. So this is one of my new pieces.
Just gorgeous.
Thank you. It's called "Song for a Rainy Morning."
Just a little bit lovely. You're going to get a little kick out of this, Tommy. I know you enjoy this sort of stuff. Ian Wright, that I was mentioning before, has sent a photo of a clinic that you were doing with your brother at the Adelaide Rock Shop back in 1991.
Ah, look at that. Back when we had hair and teeth.
Well, what I'm actually noticing here that's really kind of disturbing is this gentleman's shirt.
Yeah.
Fashion in the early 90s. I had shirts similar myself. I'm guilty too.
What do you mean had?
It's funny, isn't it? hey, this is Australia, mate. All right, Australia. Represent Australia. I love the way Australians don't even put in the AU. They just go straight to the S.
Just go straight.
Australia.
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
And also, this being an international world that we live in, we were saying just before about how the music has changed. But one thing that I do love that's changed in the modern world is the fact that, and I think that this virus is actually going to hopefully do a bit more cohesiveness. We have a gentleman here who he may be living in Australia. He may have been born there. I have no idea. But just from his name alone, obviously his descent is not Australian. This gentleman, if I want to try and pronounce your name correctly, so forgive me if I get it wrong. His name is Sajid Masood, has said,
beautiful.
Yep, hello to another person in the chats, but he says he saw you in Sweden a couple of years ago, And he also sent in the comment here. Where is it here? And this is actually the one I was looking for, but the chat's moving faster than I can keep up with. Here it is. He says, I think Tommy should play us Waltzing Matilda now. It's just fitting. And I love the fact that our international world, we have a gentleman who's obviously of some form of Middle Eastern descent. I'm sorry if I've got that a bit wrong, but requesting Waltzing Matilda. It says so much about the uniting of our world these days. So thank you very much for sending that in. I live in Japan. I care about this.
And his ghost may be heard as you pass by that billabong. Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with you?
Oh, yes.
So beautiful.
Magnificent.
Thank you.
Magnificent. So, Tommy, I want to check how much gas have you got left in the tank, mate? We've been going for 2 hours and 9 minutes. Are you still all right, or would you like to call it a day?
Is that how long we've been going? Holy smoke.
It doesn't feel long, does it? That's the whole point of this show.
I've got to call and say goodnight to Rachel. This is her bedtime. But it's been, what a joy it's been. So thanks for inviting me. Maybe we should do part 2 at a couple of weeks down the track if you're still firing on all cylinders, you guys.
That would be an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for asking us to do that, Tommy. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And Dave, lots of love to everybody in New Zealand. I just want to say, not as an Australian, but just as a citizen of the world, that your country has led by example, and I'm talking about your incredible leadership. So thank her and her team for showing the rest of the world what real leadership is. So
I agree.
Congratulations. And Jace, thanks for everything, for your love, your support, your friendship.
Anytime, mate.
And I hope to see the two of you again on my video screen maybe in a couple of weeks. If you need an old cigar box player to come and spank the plank in public,
mate,
it would be an honor.
It would be an absolute honor.
For those of you who are watching on my YouTube channel here, make sure that you go back, because Tommy and I did a video walking around the guitar shop I used to work in here in Tokyo about 5 years ago, and we had a really good time doing that. So please check it out. But ladies and gentlemen, stick around, because Dave and I are going to fill you in on a bit more of what's coming up. But please, everybody, please thank Tommy Emmanuel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Mate.
Thank you, Tommy. Stay safe, mate. I'll talk to you soon. Good night to Rachel as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give her a call now.
Nice. See you, mate. Take care.
Mate.
Bye.
See you later.
All right, so folks, that was the amazing Tommy Emmanuel. It was just such a joy to have him on the show. How was that, Dave?
Well, it's phenomenal. It's just it's words are useless.
They kind of lose you. So coming up on the show, folks, tomorrow, if you missed this at the start of the show, I'll go through the roster of what's coming up for you. Tomorrow, we have drumming legend. I mean, Tommy can tell a story. The guy tomorrow, believe me, he can talk more than I can, and I can talk, but this guy could talk the leg off of not just the chair, but the whole furniture in the house. We have Kenny Aronoff coming up. Now, if you don't know that name, if you know the song Jack and Diane by John Mellencamp, with the doom, 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 that was Kenny Aronoff. He played with John Mellencamp from, what he can tell you tomorrow. Many years.
He's the man.
He's played with a lot of people over the years. Then 2 days later, so if you're in America, it'll be Wednesday night. If you're on our side of the world, I'm in Japan, Dave's in New Zealand, Australia, it'll be Wednesday morning. We have the Baby Animals coming up. So Susie DiMarchi, the lead singer, and Dave Leslie, the guitar player, are going to be on the show. We'll be talking about their Van Halen tour they did in 1991. They played with Bryan Adams on tour. They played with Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin on tour. They are still going. Frank and Eddie, the original bass player and drummer, are no longer with the band. They did a reunion tour, an incredible documentary if you want to watch that.
Absolutely. A recommended watch. Please go and watch that. It's really incredible.
The documentary is called Baby Animals Documentary 2017. It's actually the channel for Eddie Parisi, the bass player from the band. It's a fantastic watch. I've watched it a couple of times. Coming up then 3 days after that, which will be Saturday night for America and Sunday for those of us on this side of the world, we have Phil X, the guitar player from Bon Jovi, who is a riot. That guy is so funny.
Phil X from Bon Jovi, but Phil X from Phil X and the Drills.
Exactly, and that band is monstrous. If you want to laugh, not just because it's funny, but because he's just such a character. My favorite, actually, I have a few favorite songs there. So I think probably my favorite is Air Hockey Champion of the World, which is just a great concept on its own.
Is that he has a song. Wizard?
No, it's much funnier than that.
So much better. Yeah.
He has a song called "I Wish My Beer Was As Cold as Your Heart." What a great title for a song. So that's Felix. And then the day after that, if you're a rocker and you love your technical and heavy rock music, and what a talented band, we have Sunday night for America, Monday for the rest of us. It is a band called Sons of Apollo. We have the legendary bass player Billy Sheehan, who was in Mr. Big and has a band called the Winery Dogs. It played with David Lee Roth when he left Van Halen. So we got Billy Sheehan and Bumblefoot, the guitar player. Now, Bumblefoot played in Guns N' Roses. So he was the main guitar player outside of when Slash was in the band, and he's a phenomenal musician. Yes. He's not just good.
And a hell of a lovely guy, too.
And what a singer. Yeah, so Dave and I got to hang out with him in Dubai many years ago. So we'll tell some stories about that. And then the day after that, if you know of a band called the River Dogs, the River Dogs had their debut album come out in 1990. The singer Rob Lamotte and bass player Nick Brophy, who's also the producer, will be on the show. The lead guitar player in that band is a guy called Vivian Campbell that you may know, played with Ronnie James Dio, played in Whitesnake for a while, played with Lou Gramm, the singer from Foreigner, in a band called Shadow King. And Vivian's still going. And of course, how could I forget this? He's been the lead guitar player in Def Leppard since 1992 when Steve Clark passed away. And Vivian's first show with the band was actually a Trial by Fire. Do you know what his first show was, Dave?
No.
It was the Freddie Mercury tribute show. That was his debut with Def Leppard.
Right, so anyway. That's Trial by Fire and a half.
So the two members of the band, the lead singer Rob Lamotte, who has a gorgeous voice. I mean, this guy's voice is one of my favorite voices in music. So Rob Lamotte and Nick Brophy, the bass player who produces, as I said, are going to be on the show. So look up River Dogs on your iTunes and Spotify and YouTube and wherever you can. Especially their first River Dogs album is my favorite. And then after that, we've got all sorts of things coming up, and I'm going to tell you an exclusive right now about a show which I haven't confirmed the date yet. I haven't confirmed exactly which members, but are you ready? Because this is huge.
I'm sitting down. I should be okay.
We are going to have members of Michael Jackson's band from the History Tour coming on this very show.
Shivers.
How insane is that?
Shivers, mate.
Thankfully for me, because this show is live streams with famous friends, I am friends with Jennifer Batten, who played guitar. If you ever seen the girl who had the big, huge hair on those tours, she's a phenomenal guitar player. Jennifer's a friend of mine. I called her up the other day, and we just were chatting about other stuff. And I said, hey, actually, would you mind coming on the show? And she said, this sounds awesome. And she's going to call up a few of the guys from the history tour and get us maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 members, probably 3 or 4 from Michael Jackson's band. Like, holy cow, we're talking like 90s Michael Jackson touring band members. This is going to be insane.
Absolutely.
So that's the very first announcement I've made of that coming up. And there's so much more coming up. Hailstorm will be coming up. We've definitely got RJ and I believe Josh and I'm drawing a blank on the other dude's name. I'm sorry, but we've got members of Hailstorm. Lizzie is unavailable. We've got the other guys coming up and so much more. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on Facebook, jump on YouTube, subscribe. On Facebook, we are on there as the name of Live Streams with Famous Friends by Jason McNamara, because that's me. That's my co-host, David Burch. We thank you all for watching, and have a lovely day wherever you are. Thank you again to our guest, Tommy Emmanuel, from today. What a show that was, hey, Dave?
A beautiful show. What a storyteller, both by talking, but by what he can do on his guitar. Amazing. Yeah, amazing, man.
Thank you so much to the audience. Thank you very much to all the people who donated on PayPal. I will just real quickly just drop the link in there. Look, I'm not trying to make big money out of this, but, you know, I mean, we all know that during this time, work for creative people has dried up. And the whole reason I started this show was actually not to make money. That was an afterthought that somebody suggested. I don't do a Patreon. I don't do super chats in here because I think that's just too much pressure on people. This is just, if you enjoyed it and you want to donate and support the show, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go and have a rest. Actually, no, I don't have time for rest. I've got to finish editing the video. It'll be on this channel in the next, hopefully, 24 hours. You are all going to just shit bricks when you see this, because it's going to be hilarious.
I'm quietly extremely excited.
You know what's coming. You haven't seen it yet, but you know what's coming.
I know what's coming, but I am excited, like really excited. And you should all be really excited. This is going to be a hoot.
I think we're going to break the internet with this video.
I hope so.
I have a funny feeling we might.
I hope so.
It's going to be funny. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for being involved. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just grateful for everything and all the viewers, and share the show with your friends. All right. So from Live Streams with Famous Friends, he has been David Burch. I've been Jason McNamara. I'm going to continue to be it, and I reckon you'll continue to be it too.
I'm going to try. Here it is.
High five for the show, Dave.
That's pretty good. That's horrible. Let's never do that again.
No. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Peace, love, and happiness.
Stay safe. See ya.